Today I'm profiling the only Mexican driver in the field of 20, Sergio Perez. How much do you know about Sergio Perez? By the end of this video, you'll know a little bit more. For a start, his nickname is Checo, and I must admit I didn't know that at the very start of my short 3-year career, and I'll tell you a story about that a little later on. But he was born on the 26th of January, which is actually Australia Day if you live in Australia, in 1990. That makes him 29 years of age. He races under the number 11 at the moment for Racing Point. He's married to Carola, and the pair got married going back to June last year. Now, this is the only photo I have of the pair, not a particularly flash one. Some crappy background there taken in Monaco. Here's a lovely family photo of the four. Sergio's holding Sergio Jr., born in December 2017, makes him a couple of years old, and the newborn, Carlotta, born in September of this year, being held by mum. This is his older sister, Paola. Now, I must admit this was my third race that I'd ever shot. It was in China, and I happened to see this young woman with Sergio's helmet on, and I thought, oh, I'll go and ask her what the story is with that. So I went up and had a chat, and she said, oh, I'm Checo's sister, and I had no idea his nickname was Checo. So I said, Checo, who's Checo? You know, Checo Perez. I said, Sergio. Oh, yeah, Checo. So that was the first time I realised that his nickname was Checo in my very raw days. Now, she is actually the president of the Checo Perez Foundation that she runs along with her brother. It was established in 2012, and they do some good work out of Mexico. Oh, he also has his brother too, which I'll go on to in a second. But at the moment, Sergio lives in Guadalajara. He was born in Guadalajara. He is one of the few drivers not to live in Europe. Hence, he has rather longer trips when he goes away to most of the races. But he also loves spending time in this beautiful place on the water here, Puerto Vallarta. He's a man of modest taste, I guess, when it comes to his cars at home. He drives a smart car, and he has a BMW as well. No Ferraris or McLarens or anything lavish at the moment. But I've been lucky enough to find some very old photos of Sergio, and this must be one of the first ones of him in a car. I can't even tell you how old this is, but he can't be much more than 6 years of age, and that's when he started his karting career. Here he is a little bit later on. Now, interestingly enough, I notice he's racing with the number 11 on his car there, as he does now. Here's a shot of him on the podium with his brother Antonio, and they raced together at various events in his early years. Here once again is the pair, and again you've got number 11 on Sergio's car there. And another shot perhaps a little earlier on in the good old days. And here he is standing on the top step of the podium as a youngster. This is Carlos Slim. Now, Carlos is a very wealthy Mexican businessman. In fact, I believe him to be the wealthiest man in Mexico. A good friend to have if you're an up-and-coming racing car driver. So Sergio developed this relationship with Carlos, and over the years, Carlos has backed Sergio into a number of teams. And as you probably know, in car racing, especially once you get to the top level, it's not always the best driver that gets the seat. Of course, you need to be a very good driver, but you also need, in many instances, to come along with some money. And this is where Carlos Slim was invaluable to Sergio, getting his start in his motor racing career. It should be said that as a junior, Sergio was a pretty darn good footballer, and whilst this is not in his earlier years, he can play, and for some time he was looking at becoming a professional footballer, but ended up going the route of Formula One, and I think you'd agree, has done pretty darn well. Initially, he went to Sauber in 2011, and never had a result. In 2012, he got 2 second positions in the Malaysian Grand Prix and the Monza Grand Prix, and things were looking up for Checo. Next year, he moved to McLaren, but things didn't go so well there. It wasn't successful, and late in the season, McLaren announced that they were going to drop Sergio for next year and pick up Kevin Magnussen, which nearly left Sergio without a drive in 2014. However, he managed to land a seat in the Force India with the backing of Carlos Slim because it was a €15 million package that was involved, and that would include sponsorship for the team, and obviously some of that money goes to pay Sergio. Now in 2014, 15 and 16, he raced alongside Nico Hülkenberg, and this obviously isn't a shot from those years, but it is a shot of the pair. And then in 2017 and 18, he paired up with Esteban Ocon. It was an interesting pairing, and it wasn't always great, and I think you might remember going back to the start of the 2017 Belgian Grand Prix when the pair got very close here, touched the wall here for Esteban on the outside of the track and Sergio here towards the middle. They came to blows, and unfortunately both of their races were affected. Although while he was racing for Force India, he had some good results. He had thirds in Bahrain in 2014, in Russia in 2015. He had 2 third places in Monza and Azerbaijan in 2016, but nothing in 2017. The first time I saw him on a podium was in Azerbaijan in 2018, and he managed to nab 3rd position. And there was great delight as he headed up onto the podium to collect his first trophy in a year and a half odd. And he was pretty happy to share that with his team and stand on the podium with Lewis and Kimi Räikkönen. Although it was about this time that the financial problems at Force India were starting to come to the fore. Now, Sergio was a creditor of the team. He was owed money. Lots of people were owed money. But it was he that took the brave step of putting the organisation into administration. At the time, it was the only option to keep the team going. He did it. He copped a bit of criticism initially, but once people realised what was going on, that it was indeed the right move for the team to continue operating. Of course, this man stepped in, Lawrence Stroll, father of Lance Stroll, who was racing at the time at Williams. He stepped in, purchased the team, got it back up and running, and it's now known as Racing Point. And Sergio Perez got himself a 3-year extension to his contract. He now races alongside Lance Stroll, and there's some good competition between the pair, although Racing Point is still a mid-level team. In the paddock and perhaps on television, you might have spotted Sergio in the company of this man, Luis Alvarez. Luis is Sergio's brand manager. Yes, he has a brand manager, and the pair are often seen together. And you can see here that Luis proudly wears the Sergio Perez logo on his shirt, and they've been together since 2013. The other person you'll see Sergio with in the paddock is his trainer, Xavi Martos. Now, Xavi's been with him prior to the 2012 season. He then didn't work with him when he went to McLaren in 2013, but rejoined him afterwards and has been with him since 2014 at Force India and now at Racing Point. His job, of course, like all the other trainers, is to meet him at the back of the garage after quali or a race, grab all his stuff, give him a drink, give him his watch, give him a hat. He's also responsible for his fitness, what he eats, and his general well-being while he's at the track, and the pair work beautifully together. He has a strong presence on social media. He's got some 766,000 followers, and you'll notice that he has an S in front of his name here because Checo Perez without the S had already been taken. So despite the fact that you spell Checo, C-H-E-C-O, he's had to go with the S in front. I must admit, I don't know Sergio that well. I've spoken to him once in 2017 when he crashed at Azerbaijan. I was situated right next to the car, and I waited until he got off the track and I took a few photos of him. And then I put the camera down and thought, oh, I'll have a quick chat with you. And he explained what happened in that instance, and I thought that was pretty good of him after he'd had a prang and he was willing to have a chat. So that's really my only interaction with Sergio. I've spoken to his people who have been very helpful in giving me information for this video. I have photographed him a couple of times in incidents, and this was one I remember coming around the first turn at Silverstone last year, 2018, leaving him with an inglorious walk back to the garage, having done just 400 or 500 metres. He gets on well with Carlos Sainz, and I see them occasionally having a chat. Obviously, the two are Spanish speakers, and here they are coming into the paddock at Abu Dhabi. He's one of about 2/3 of the field that does a track walk on a Thursday. This was taken in Japan. What I do note about Sergio when he's in the paddock, he's pretty relaxed, and he rarely has anyone looking out for him. Certainly you wouldn't see Lewis without someone walking with him, and probably not the likes of Charles or Max. Normally they have someone with them. But Sergio I often see on his lonesome out in the paddock relaxed. In Mexico though, Sergio is definitely an F1 hero. They love him. And that was no more obvious to me than in qualifying this year when I was situated in this spot shooting the stadium. And the first time he came into that stadium when qualifying was going, there was an enormous roar and it made you feel tingly. Did you know he is deeply religious? A devout Catholic. He races with a picture of the Pope inside his car. And I must admit, the first time I saw this, which was going back some years ago, it really floored me. His parents actually got him in to see the Pope when he was about 10 years of age. But recently, in the last year or so, I think it was, he and his wife once again returned to the Vatican and had an audience with the great man. he is quite the practical joker, I'm told. And it's not uncommon for him to go to dinner with his crew, and if they haven't got any cash or any way of paying, he will simply get up under the guise of going to the toilet and not return, leaving his colleagues with the challenge of how do they pay for a meal with no cash or credit card. He gets great delight out of doing that, I'm told. And on the subject of restaurants, he's an avid food lover, and his favourite food, traditional Mexican tacos. So there's some background on Mexico's most beloved F1 driver, Sergio Checo Perez. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and click the notifications button. Your comments are always appreciated. You can own any of my images at prostarpics.com. My blogs and podcasts, you'll find them at kimellman.com, and you get pictures live from the track and all through the off-season at Kim Ellman on Instagram. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate.